Judges there. Let's take a look at the health situation in the country. Nurses continue to be on strike. Clinical nurses joined them just a few days ago. Yesterday, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission released a report on the job groupings for the clinical officers that they have since rejected. But to get a better understanding of this and the crisis that is currently in the health sector, joining me in studio now is George Gibora. He's the Secretary General of the Kenya Union of clinical officers in the country. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's start with that report from the Salaries and Remuneration Commission. What did you not agree with? What did you agree with?
Thank you, Kisa, for having me. And I wish to say that the clinical officers has been protesting the report which was prepared by the SRC, which have actually downgraded the clinical officers. This is fact because we have been having an operational structuring, which is cutters of the Public Service Commission, which has been grading clinical officer as professional. But since we knew that the SRC was preparing a new report, which came actually early November last year, and that's when they launched it. And we realized that we had been downgraded, and we launched our complaint. Since then, we have been following up on this matter several times, actually suspended our strike around 4 times. This is the 5th time that we are now going. And actually the report that you saw yesterday, we had agreed that they were to respond on our appeal by 4th this month, which they failed. And the clinical officers gave them a notice of 10 days. That they were to go on strike if they will not be able to they will not have released their strike, which was ending on 14th this month. Then on the 15th, that's Friday last week, clinical officers went on strike to protest the delay because we had seen also a preliminary report which had been released to the public, which was actually to hoodwink the clinical officer and actually try to malign. And we read some allies. We raised this issue, but the government rejected and said that let us wait for the official communication. So yesterday when we camped at the SRC, they were able to release a report, a report that we still feel that it is actually an offensive report to the clinical officer because it does not serve the purpose that it intends to do.
So what is fundamentally wrong with this new grading from the SRC?
There are two things, Ekisa. One, the SRC new job grouping, they has what to do with banding. Under the banding, there is professional and there is the discretionary officers. The discretionary officers, they are those which are semi-skilled and actually low-skilled.
Yes.
Those who get instruction to function, or rather to do the work that they are supposed to be doing, and the professional. And now when you see the clinical officers have been downgraded to be discretionary, and by their training, we don't agree because we are saying that these people have a higher qualification of training, that's a diploma in clinical medicine and a surgery, which takes them 3 years and a half and actually 1 year of intern. That is purely even more than even some degree takes in college.
Yes.
So we are not totally agreeing to what they are giving out because they are not taking things into consideration. Remember, when you call people professional, we have an act of parliament that define and call clinical officers professional. And also we have a public service provision on that's now the current scheme of service. And also we have an existing professional grading which is existing. Now, disregarding all those, you want to redefine clinical officers as semi-skilled and actually discretionary. We are saying no, because we cannot be redefined by just a report of a mere commission that actually we have that maybe seemingly repeals an act of parliament. That is what we are saying, that we must be properly grouped, and that is be banded and actually be properly grouped.
So what, you want the SRC to go back to the drawing board as far as the new job gradings for clinical officers are concerned?
Yes, precisely. And I can tell you, Ekisa, that we have a report from the 2 consultants that did the work. That is Ernst & Young and PricewaterhouseCoopers. And both of them actually has indicated that they rated clinical officers, that is the diploma one, higher than any other diploma, including even the nurses. But the the SRC has disregarded their report. And when we try to follow up, even when I asked one of the commission, they said when they receive this report, they moderate. So that is to mean that the issues pertaining the job evaluation is just a PR exercise. They are actually coming up with a job grouping and banding based on conjecture, which actually it is ill-intended, and we cannot accept it as Kenyans. Remember, we are professional, and the services we offer is actually is highly skilled, not just even skilled. It is very highly skilled. And we have been existing in Kenya since 1928. We cannot just be told today that you are just lowly skilled or rather semi-skilled. This is actually exposing the clinical officers to maybe legal litigation, which maybe somebody will move to court and say, we are being served by semi-skilled. And we are not semi-skilled. Remember, majority of the counties depend on clinical officers to offer the health services. Yeah. Yes.
How long do you plan on taking this strike? The nurses' strike is at 100 days. Are you planning to go as far as that if your demands are not met?
Our demand, if are not met, we better ask the SRC to get those who are specialists to work in the facility. But I want to say that if they address our issue, even midnight today, even in a minute after today, the clinical officer will be back to work. Ekisa, it is a record that we have actually suspended this strike for more than 4 times. This is how we have had a goodwill to ensure that these issues are solved amicably without actually leaving the Kenyans to suffer without any services. As we talk, we know that the nurses have been on a strike for more than now 100 days, which has become actually a presidency for any strike in the health sector. If that is what they want, I can tell you the clinical officers are willing to walk that walk. But we are saying that is not what should be happening. And the leaders in this country must be able to take responsibility and understand that the Constitution envisaged that the Kenyans will get a service, actually accessible services and cheaper in the public facilities, which all the leaders, both elected and even those who are cabinet secretary, must consider to offer Kenyans the services because they pay for those services. If we are not at work, and again, because of some people who cannot be able to execute their mandate, and actually call it ineptitude in the office, they should be removed from office because they are able Kenyans who can do that services.
So are your grievances only with the SRC?
Precisely. I say that we have many problems, actually many grievances. But this time around, people are out only on one agenda. That is proper grading, and actually we be well grouped as professional and actually be regarded as such. And I wish to say that, Ekisa, that clinical officers have done degree and have masters in several areas. If you need to consider, you must take their qualification into consideration and consider the services that we do.
Has your employer sought to arbitrate these
Yes,
issues?
let me say that's very true that even on Friday when we started our strike, we had 2 meetings at the Council of Governors, which I must appreciate the 2 employers, that's the counties and actually the ministry, have actually tried their best to ensure that these issues are solved. However, we're not fighting our employer. The issues with the SRC, which actually have demonstrated their ignorance in the services that they're offering. We have met the 2 consultants in 2 different areas. And they were able to say, yes, we understand your case, and I think that there's something which is the commissioner miss. And that is why we see there is somebody in the office seated using conjecture, baseless issues to grade clinical officers.
All right, George. Thank you very much. This is a story that we continue to follow up on. The health crisis, nurses are out, clinical officers are out now. George Gibore is the Secretary General of the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers. Remember, among the top stories we have